The sun comes up on America. Across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, here we go in another action-packed day. Relentless pursuit of truth. That's what we do here, no matter where it leads. Fighting for you from the Foxhole Freedom every single day. Let's get rolling. Like always, there's a lot to cover. Three big things this hour. Number one, market experts now say that if and when the Fed drops interest rates, it could trigger one of the biggest explosions the U.S. economy has ever seen, and that would be great before the midterms, wouldn't it? Number two, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib thinks the homeless junkies living on our streets should have a Bill of Rights so they can squat anywhere they want for as long as they want. To hell with anything you care about or good living in your neighborhood. And number three, continuing on that note, the Democrat Party has gone all in. No holds barred on their vile hatred rhetoric aimed at anyone who isn't a full-blown socialist progressive. And today, I'm bringing the receipts. I'm rolling the tape. I'm here to let you know just how downright unhinged this year's Democrats and Democrat candidates really are. I'm not sure it gets any worse than the guy they've decided should be the new face of the party, Hasan Piker, a radical streamer who was born here in the United States to two Turkish parents who then flew him back to Turkey to raise him. You see the problem? And now he's here on U.S. soil seeking to destroy this country by any means necessary. And they wonder why the Trump administration is trying to crack down on birth tourism. Here's Hasan Piker over the weekend campaigning with Cori Bush in Missouri, calling Republicans racist and monsters. Here it is.
For far too long, we've been told you have to vote for harm reduction. We all know the Republicans are corrupt. We all know that they're monsters, they're racist, they traffic in hatred. But we are here to say we are no longer going to vote for do-nothing Democrats either. We're voting for Democrats with a purpose.
He has repeated those same ugly accusations alongside many other candidates, including Summer Lee, running to keep her seat in Congress in Pennsylvania. Abdul Sayed, running to represent Michigan in the Senate. Chris Rabb, running to also represent Pennsylvania in Congress. And Zohran Mamdani just last year. And his comments have been much more vile than even that. At an event recently, he expressed understanding for the desire to assassinate President Trump. He said it. He's the face of the Democrat Party. Here's more.
And you actually wrote about this, and it was a great video where you talked about, someone has to do it. See, when I say that, everyone knows exactly what I mean. That which is, I think that shows that there is a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and untapped potential. Untapped revolutionary potential, as a matter of fact, and it's a great opportunity for organizing, I think, in these unprecedented.
He wants a revolution. He wants to destroy your country. He is the face of the Democrat Party. He has no problem with the fact that Trump has had 3 attempts made on his life. Hasan wishes there were more. And Democrats have no problem platforming this guy. Don't forget, this is the guy who a couple of years ago said that the United States deserved 9/11. And repeatedly called the United States a terrorist nation. You can bet your bottom dollar that whoever Hasan Piker supports as a candidate is going to put America last every time. And one of his favorites, apparently, is Graham Plattner. This is the praise he doled out for Plattner in Maine. Listen.
Unironically saying Janet Mills is better than Graham Plattner. Please, dude. He was pro-Hamas, okay? He was giving Hamas credit in 2014. Okay, what more do you want?
That's what you have to do to get Hasan Piker's stamp of approval. Be a fanboy of Hamas. Think about that. Graham Plattner is running to unseat Susan Collins in the Senate for Maine this year. He's got lots of skeletons in his closet, not the least of which is a Nazi tattoo emblazoned across his chest that he says was a drunken accident, but it was there for 20 years. hell of a hangover. And then there's his digital footprint on the internet, and boy, is it a doozy. Senate Republicans have done us all a favor and compiled a reading of those horrendous comments. Here's part of it.
And now for a dramatic reading of Graham Plattner's Reddit comments.
Holy how about people just take some responsibility for themselves and not get so up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to? Rape is a real thing. If you're so worried about it to buy Kevlar underwear, you think you might not get blacked out up around people you aren't comfortable with. Why don't black people tip? I work as a bartender and it always amazes me how solid this stereotype is. Living in white rural America, I'm afraid to tell you they actually are. I got older and became a communist. Still got the guns though. I don't trust the fascists to act politely. I did used to love America, or at least the idea of it. These days I'm pretty disgusted by it all. Feel free to back it up with facts, This was the gayest, not in a fun dick-sucking way, thing I've ever seen.
Wow. Yikes. But apparently Democrats are willing to brush that all aside if they think he can win them a blue seat in the Senate. Newsflash, he can't. Susan Collins by 10. Elizabeth Warren has forgotten all of her feminist and anti-racist beliefs, apparently, too. And even CNBC is flabbergasted by it all. Watch this.
You campaigned with Graham Plattner, who is ahead of that state's very pivotal Democratic primary. And I wanted to ask you about something you said. You said he's your kind of man. And I've interviewed you for a long time and watched your hearings and listened to your questions. You care about character. This is a guy that had a chest tattoo with a Nazi symbol. Okay, he apologized for it. It's a guy that reportedly wrote that people concerned about rape should take some responsibility for themselves and not get so effed up that they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. He praised military tactics used by Hamas, reportedly, in comments online in Reddit when they were murdering Israeli soldiers. So I'm just curious why you think he's your kind of man.
So, as you rightly point out, he has apologized. He's out meeting with the people of Maine every single day.
Yeah. You know, I don't remember Elizabeth Warren being nearly as generous with Trump about any comments that were less egregious by far. Yeah, if she didn't like him, she came out swinging, which is pretty much everything he says. And that's because these people don't actually have morals. It's about politics and power. And they apparently think the political tide is turning toward more and more radicalism. And they're happy to ride that wave regardless of who gets hurt along the way. Yeah. Here's another of Hassan Piker's picks, Abdul El Sayed, who led his supporters in an Abolish ICE chant at his most recent rally after painting ICE like this.
That ICE is about something far crueler. ICE is about normalizing putting government thugs on our streets against the Constitution itself. And maybe it's because I ran government agencies, but I can tell you that once a culture of impunity sets in, there is no reform. What do you tell an agent who used a child as bait? I mean, can you imagine the PowerPoint slide that you'd have to design? No, don't take the kid. You cannot reform this. You cannot retrain this. The only logical path is to abolish ICE.
Welcome to the Democrat Party 2026. More after the break. I will tell the truth about everything we see for as long as I have breath in my lungs. It is the relentless pursuit of truth, and gone are the days that Democrats walk back their defund the police talking points. They're fully embracing abolish ICE chants, fully embracing their hatred of Donald Trump and encouraging more assassination attempts. After the first and even the second assassination attempt, the Democrat playbook was just deny that the left engaged in violent rhetoric and to try the whole both sides thing. It's not both sides. But they've thrown out that playbook now. They're just sticking to their hatred. James Carville, a guy who needs a welfare check and his meds revisited, says he wants something worse than death for Donald Trump. Here it is.
I want to be clear on this. I do not want that man to die. I want to watch him suffer. And I can't watch a dead person suffer. So I want him to be fully cognizant come November. So when people tell him.
Welcome to the Democrat Party 2026. Classy, James, classy. This is the man who sees himself as a top advisor for mainstream Democrats and the mainstream Democrat Party. And the candidates, well, they're taking notes and taking action. Here's a Democrat representative, state representative in Tennessee, Justin Pearson. Listen to his rant.
Exactly. Donald Trump is a white supremacist domestic terrorist who is seeking to destroy our democracy by any means necessary, including by usurping democracy itself. And the voices of the people and Governor Bill Lee, Cameron Sexton, and Lieutenant Governor McNally have all decided to join him in this effort to destroy our democracy, to take away our voice, and to attack black people and black representation. And that's wrong.
For God's sake. These people are out of control. And listen to me. Let me be crystal clear. These are not just the most radical outliers. The fringe is creeping toward the middle of the entire party. It goes all the way to the top, in fact. How do I know? Well, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries stands by his comments to engage in, quote, maximum warfare against Republicans. And how dare anyone try to criticize him for it? Here's Dollar Store Obama.
As it relates to anything that has been said, certainly as it relates to the comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle that Republicans launched. I stand by it. You can continue to criticize me for it. I don't give a damn about your criticism.
More class from the left. Jeffries has decided to lead the way in attacking any form of conservatism, including that of Supreme Court justices, who interpret the Constitution the way it should be. He issued a very dire warning to the justices, out on left-wing media, of course. Here it is.
Supreme Court is a disgrace, and Ben, in the new Congress, we're going to have to do something about this Supreme Court, and let me be very clear. Everything is on the table, everything, to deal with this corrupt MAGA majority that is issuing political opinions that are designed to bolster the prospects of the Republican Party, and we will not allow them to succeed.
Heard my.
In the new Congress, we're going to have to do something about this Supreme Court, and let me be very clear. Everything is on the table. Everything.
Everything. Jeffries absolutely knows that several of the conservative justices have been doxxed, had their homes surrounded by angry, violent activists, had violent threats made against their lives, and I know he hasn't forgotten that one man was even arrested trying to kill Brett Kavanaugh. But Jeffries still thinks it's a good idea to tell the deranged left-wing audience who watches him that all options are on the table, including that, apparently. The Democrats have given up winning on the issues. They're planning to whip up and weaponize their voter base against all Republicans and conservatives, no matter the cost, no matter who gets killed. It's only a matter of time before somebody gets shot just for wearing a red hat. These candidates truly hate the average blue-blooded American. They're not even trying to hide it. They're not. I'll leave you with Michigan Democrat Mallory McMorrow, who stands by her tweet that painted middle America as backwards. Listen to this.
Okay, so there were tweets of hers where you seem to take a jab at rural America. In 2016, a user posted, quote, "I'm from the rural Midwest. all this talk about coastal elites needing to understand more of America has it backwards. You wrote in response to that user, this thread, I'm from rural New Jersey, this ranks 100%. So do you stand by that sentiment that rural parts of America can learn from coastal elites?
I think we all need to understand each other better. Trump has succeeded in weaponizing us against each other, convincing us that we are each other's enemies. I've lived all over the country. I've met a lot of different people, and I stand by that. Was it the most eloquent tweet I've ever tweeted? No. I've tweeted thousands of times.
She stands by it. We should learn from the coastal elites. No, thank you. These people don't get that this is why Donald Trump won, because middle America is sick and tired of being treated like trash by people like Mallory McMorrow. The Democrat Party is sick and dangerous, not just because their policies are going to ruin America, but because they've shown in the last few weeks that they're willing to use the most deranged of individuals to get those policies implemented. And these are the kind of policies I'm talking about. Rhode Island's assault weapons ban goes into effect this summer. It bans the manufacture, sale, purchase, and transfer of semi-automatic firearms, all of them, and can put you in prison for a decade if you violate it. Rhode Island doesn't care that the Supreme Court has already ruled on the right to bear commonly owned arms. You know, the Democrats will be looking at Rhode Island as a blueprint to go national. And Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, another one of Hassan Piker's favorites, is asking to take almost $170 billion, that's billion with a B, away from defense spending to end homelessness, which we know won't ever end unless you plan on reinstituting forced institutionalization. She wants to push through unhoused Bill of Rights, an unhoused Bill of Rights. She wants homeless people to be able to camp on your street permanently. Free camping, panhandling, endless handouts, junkies on your streets. This is your Democrat Party 2026. And frankly, my friends, I've had it. But I've showed you the receipts. Now you know. Now you know. Tell your friends. Back after this. All right, here's something I have to tell you about. Voter fraud. Voter fraud. Democrats say it doesn't happen, right? Weird, because in Michigan, at the Democrat convention here just recently, a few days ago, apparently more than 300 votes were cast illegally, some from out of the country. It's everywhere, and the Attorney General in Michigan, Dana Nessel, is demanding an investigation into voter fraud at the Democrat convention. Gee, I thought that voter fraud wasn't a thing. Well, apparently it is. Yes, the Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, backing a growing push to recount all votes cast during the Democrat convention, admitting her own votes were improperly tallied. They held their convention April the 19th. 6,000 delegates gathered to vote on candidates to represent the party for statewide offices. But now we've learned that some of those votes came from outside the country. Yeah, outside the country. You can't vote remotely. That's not legal. You can't vote from another country. That's not legal. This is called voter fraud. The same voter fraud the Democrats say doesn't happen. Well, we'll have more on this coming up. Don't worry. A groundbreaking new study shows that there is a safe and inexpensive potential cancer treatment. It's a drug that many of us already know, ivermectin. A new study shows that individuals who took ivermectin, the parasite medication that gained fame during COVID, along with the drug mebendazole, saw remarkable results in fighting cancer. It's incredibly promising, and it's important. What can you do to get it? How can you get U.S.-made ivermectin and mebendazole? Well, the Wellness Company is your answer. You see and hear from the Wellness Company doctors here on a regular basis. Their products are the gold standard to keep you and your family safe and healthy. And the Wellness Company is making 100% American-made ivermectin and mebendazole available to you right now at an incredible and affordable price point. Say no to Big Pharma and its greed. Say no to Big Pharma and its poison, and say yes to a company that you can trust. TWC.health/Gruber. You can go there today and order. TWC.health/Gruber. The promo code Gruber will save you 10%, maybe more. There's always great specials at the Wellness Company and great products that you can trust. I'll be right back. All right, here's something that has gained a fair amount of attention recently, and that is a suggestion that there should be a cap on credit card interest rates. And I understand it. Look, credit card interest rates can be as high as 29.99%. It's crushing, especially if you're tight or between jobs or you've lost your job or whatever it may be. Tim Desser is executive director of Unleash Prosperity, and he says that is all true. But if you reduce rates to 10%, More than 60 million Americans could lose their credit cards altogether, and it could cost $714 billion in lost GDP. That's a pretty big number. Tim, good morning.
Morning, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing well. There's no question that these 30% interest rates can be crushing. You pay your minimum balance. It can go on for years. You never see the end of the road. It just goes on and on and on. But if credit card companies are forced to reduce their rates, then they're not going to take the risk because higher interest rates are applied to people who they consider to be a higher risk. Now, I understand that. So tell the folks that you think that'll take away millions of people's credit cards, but there's got to be a solution somewhere in here.
Yeah, think about this. What point in history in this entire world have 82% of an entire nation had access to credit cards, to credit? I mean, this is a remarkable story that isn't being told. It's getting lost in the rate cap discussion. But the fact is that people now have access to credit that would never have had access in the past. And that is because credit card companies and banks have figured out the secret sauce to make sure that not just the rich people can get credit cards, but also people that actually could need that to bridge a loan. By the way, I'm not saying that we're all for people paying 30% credit. When my wife and I get our bill every month, we pay it. We don't want to go down that high credit route.
But Tim, in fairness, that's not possible for everyone. It's not. People get jammed up in credit card debt. They're paying 30% interest. They pay their minimum payment. It could go on for 10 years, 15 years, and they still haven't paid off the balance. Access to credit works if the credit's worth something. So to me, the only way to make money with a bank is to own the bank, quite obviously. So how do we solve that? People cannot be in this endless cycle of debt.
Well, what we don't do is we don't force people to go other routes of getting credit, which are these payday loans. Payday loans, I have nothing against them. If you want to make money doing it, you can. But what my point is I'm saying is that banks have figured out a way to basically democratize credit. So where you're not paying a 200% interest rate. You're paying somewhat more of a reasonable rate that allows you to have access to it. And again, it's not for everybody, and it shouldn't be for everybody. But the point is that more people have now had access to credit than ever in the past. And if we took that away, like you said, the $714 billion loss and hit to our GDP in consumer spending, which, by the way, you hear these numbers constantly. Consumer spending is what drives the economy here in the United States of America.
I get that.
So this would absolutely be devastating. Absolutely.
But when you get to 30%, because I think that's the highest rate allowed by law, right?
Well,
so that's
it's the highest, but not all credit cards are 30%.
That's a cap. At 29.99, right?
Well, so the question is why 10?
I've got to. Well, why not something? Why not something? Maybe 20. The point being is we put a cap at 29.99. Why that number?
Well, the point is that's the number that banks have said that they can be profitable on, that they can actually get credit cards to the 82% of people that have them versus what it was 50 years ago where it was 30%, 40% of people. This is the story here, is that banks have been able to do this because they've been able to charge these interest rates. So I don't think that there's any apologies in terms of the high rate. It's all about financial literacy. It's all about education, and it's all about making sure that if you want access to it, you have access to it.
But here's my point, Tim. There is a cap at 29.99. Based on what you're telling me, there should be no cap at all, and you'll have 100% credit in America. Of course, people will be broke.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Hold on, that's not what I was saying. Is that the banks have determined that that's the cap, that's the rate that they can charge in order to.
They cannot legally charge more, Tim. Banks did not determine that. That is the legal limit allowed. Otherwise, they would be higher.
Right, and as you've seen, more people have gained credit through having that on. If you do 10%, there's no question about it. 64 million people at least would lose access to credit in this country. I don't know what to tell them if they're either relying on credit cards or if they're using credit cards regularly. Set aside the fact that the miles, the rewards programs that people have grown to like and grown to appreciate, that would be gone. That would be something of the past. So if you were to do this, if you were to put on a 10% rate cap, you might be saying, hey, we're doing people a favor. but really you're not fixing any part of the culture. You're just forcing banks to take a hit on something, and in turn they're going to remove credit from people, and they're also going to remove those rewards programs.
What if you brought
It would be a
what if it
terrible
was down to,
exchange.
what if it was 24.99 or 20.99? To me, because
Well, look,
30% is
yeah.
unreasonable to me. It is. Loan sharking
Yeah.
is
Well,
illegal in this country.
Yeah, well, the average rate is between 19 and 21%. So that 30% rate is the absolute high end. And by the way, I'm not defending something saying that a 19% interest rate is a good financial decision for somebody to live on. I'm not. But this does provide ways for people who need a bridge, for people who need, financial assistance to make it through a tough month, to pay a bill, whatever. That's the average rate that most people are paying. And I think that we want to try and keep it as low as possible, as low as we can get, without the government coming in and putting some artificial price control in, just like the Soviets
they
did,
already
Steve.
do.
Back when they said you can't sell cotton for a certain amount, next thing you know, their cotton industry is completely destroyed. Price caps never work.
Well, this is not a price cap. This is a cap on interest on the return of money. It's not a price cap. Let's be clear about that. And there already is a cap. There's a legal limit of 29.99. Tim, there's already a cap. Can the cap be lower? That's what I'm asking you, or not? You say it can't move at all.
Well, I'm saying that if you want 82% of Americans to have access to credit cards, which is where we are at this point in this country, which I think is remarkable, then that is the rate that banks have been able to make work for them. I'm not saying they couldn't make 10% work. I'm not saying they couldn't make 5% work. I'm just saying not as many people would have access to it, and they would be in a worse off position than they are now.
Let me ask you one other thing here. Should
Yes,
banks
dear.
be able to target high school kids with credit card offers, which they do every day? Should they be able to target people who they know don't understand credit particularly well, don't understand the credit market particularly well, and these kids get themselves jammed up at 17, 18 years old with a bunch of credit card debt that they have to pay off for the next decade? Would you support a limit on that, on targeting people who don't know what the hell they're doing? Last word to you.
I would support a limit on anything toward children. When you're an adult, that's where we have to entrust that our local schools and that our universities are providing financial literacy. It's never a good idea to start out in credit card debt. Steve, just like when I used to work in the state of Ohio, we would drive around and we'd say, do you really want to spend $100,000 on an education in underwater basket weaving?
No,
or do you
God,
want to
no.
become an electrician and make $80,000 a year? That's the kind of financial literacy that people need, and need to understand that saddling yourself with debt is never a good idea. It's not a pathway to prosperity.
Well,
or
in
wealth.
fairness,
So I think that's what we have to have.
Politicians should have financial literacy as well. The whole Congress is, by and large, financially illiterate. Tim, good conversation. We'll see what people think.
I agree
Thank you.
100% with that.
Greatly appreciate it. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Steve. Yep.
Really
see ya.
appreciate it. What do you guys think? Send me an email. Jump into the comments section of the chat rooms. I'll see what you have to say. I'll be right back. Here's a programming note for you. Coming up in the next hour, we will go live to the Pentagon for their briefing. It'll happen in the next hour. David Zier live on the ground at the Pentagon for us today. It's important that we keep up to date. A lot of action in the last 24 hours. Iran launching cruise missiles, not nuclear missiles, cruise missiles, drones, and other armaments, all of it neutralized by the United States military as we continue to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Joining me now is Michael McGuire, U.S. Marine veteran and naval reservist and a congressional candidate for New Jersey 3. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if you've seen the action in the Gulf here in the last 24 hours or so, but Iran launching missiles, drones, the small attack boats, many of which were vaporized. It doesn't seem that they put a scratch on the U.S. military again, but look, it's possible that one of these gets through at some point. It is a hot war zone at the moment, no matter what you call it, it is. And it's really impacting the world. What are your thoughts right now on this action about 60 days in?
I think we're actually in a great spot right now. I think the president, he's obviously, the polls that came out are not doing the popular thing, and that's where I have to give great credit to our president at this point. He knows it's an election year, but he's doing what's right for the American people and for our public safety here. And I think that's actually very strong leadership. He understands that this had to be done. This is a war that's been going on for 47 years. And it's really a shame that the mainstream media is portraying it as anything but a successful mission at this point. We've taken out their Navy. We've taken out their, strategic points. We have completely decimated their rank structure. They don't even know who's in charge there. And most importantly, we stopped the immediate threat of their capabilities of a nuclear weapon. And as far as their light attacks, they're going to pay for those if they hit a service member, and the president made that very clear yesterday.
Yeah, my position has been consistent from the beginning of this military action in Iran. If you're going in, finish the job. I don't want to see boots on the ground. I don't want to see some invasion of mainland Iran, but I do want to see this thing solved. I want to make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon so they can hold not just the Middle East, but Europe and maybe the rest of the world hostage. All right, we need to eliminate that threat. That's where I'm at. I do not want to go back in 6 months or 6 years and have to do it all over again. What are your thoughts on that?
That's absolutely correct. I mean, we've been putting a Band-Aid on Iran for 47 years. As a Marine Corps veteran, people don't realize the history that we have, that they bombed our barracks. They were a direct sponsor of bombing our barracks, and we lost all those Marines in the mid-1980s. They've made promises. They said that they were going to keep. They obviously can't be trusted. They're nothing but a terrorist organization, and we need to end them now. And I think we're on the right track. First of all, we're costing them almost $500 million a day with their main source, which is oil. And the president's put us in extreme prominent position, whether it was taking care of Venezuela in the beginning or the job he's done with Cuba. And now he's putting pressure on China at this point from the cheap oil that they're receiving from them. Now that we control the strait, we must control it. We must absolutely, control them financially, which is making people talk about our little bit of gas prices that are going up. It is absolutely crushing the economy over in Iran with their food costs, their gas costs, and is putting severe pressure on them. So I believe that we need to go in there, finish the job, let the regime completely collapse, and hopefully that they start something new on their end at that point.
It seems to me that Donald Trump is also setting the tone globally, telling the Europeans, you don't want to help, that's fine, go get your own oil. Making sure China understands our capabilities. We demonstrated it on the 2nd of January in Venezuela. We demonstrated it again with our blistering attacks on Iran. Something like 14,000 targets taken out. I lose track, but something like that. It sets the stage for America to say, look, if you're friend or foe, you better respect us. Sounds like John Kennedy, but that's kind of where we are, isn't it?
Absolutely. Peace through strength. It shows strength to every enemy that we have across this globe. And we have a lot of them because they want to be like us. They want to be able, and they're afraid of us. They're afraid of freedom. They're afraid of our democracy and what it shows to their people. That is the biggest thing that this president showed. And he showed that day one, this administration, especially with Pete Hegseth, putting the warrior ethos back in the military. I actually joined the Navy Reserves when our president got sworn in again because of what he did and brought the strength back to the military and getting rid of the political correctness that we had under the past administration. And he has made our military strong. And every military member I serve with is proud of that. We are proud of being warriors and going through the ethos that our Honorable Secretary Hegseth talks about every day to make our military in the position that they are in today.
Michael, before I let you go, tell me about New Jersey 3. What's the race like? What's it going to take?
It's going to take for everyone to come out and vote and realize that we have an extreme left opponent in there. We actually have the largest employer, which is McGuire-Dix Air Force in the base. And that's what made me start running, is because our current representative decided to shut down the government and put Department of Homeland Security at risk. And he also kicked our military members off the base and shut down non-essential employees at McGuire-Dix. And I'm there fighting for those that can't fight for themselves as they serve our country. And shame on him for doing that.
Michael McGuire, thank you for being here today. We wish you well in your race.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. If you deal with knee pain, joint pain, or stiffness, especially when you're driving or sitting for a long time, listen to this. You can't take a medical treatment bed with you on the road, but you can keep the QE red light therapy wand right at your hand. It can be in your glove box. It can be next to your desk. This handheld device uses red and infrared light combined with proprietary quantum energy technology to target pain right where it hurts. No pills, no appointments, just simple targeted relief you can use anytime. And it's really portable. I love that. Easy to use in just minutes a day. You want to find out more? Go to QEstrong.com. QEstrong.com. Use the code Gruber. You'll get the QE wand for under $100. Kind of hard to believe, but true. That's QEstrong.com. Promo code is Gruber. Again, coming up in the next hour, we will go live to the Pentagon. There's a briefing scheduled. Coming after all the action in the Strait of Hormuz, it's an important day. We'll check in with David Zier in the next hour here on the program. You'll want to be around for that, so don't miss it. I'll take a break and be right back. Good morning. All right, have you had enough of Big Brother yet? This just popped up a moment ago, and I'm looking at it going, you can't be serious. It's serious. They're putting wind-powered surveillance drones on the Great Lakes. Your lake's not far behind wherever you may live. They're these, like, 4-foot boats, right? The U.S. Coast Guard will use autonomous surveillance vessels, radar, cameras, AI systems, of course, to patrol the Great Lakes during summertime. Can you imagine? You're out on your boat, you're having a beer, you're catching a fish, and here comes a surveillance drone? Better not tangle up my fishing lines, I'll tell you that. You probably can't touch the things either. It's probably illegal to touch the things. They'll be patrolling out there. Autonomous surveillance, 2026 season. They're not admitting how many they're putting out. How do you feel about that? They got surveillance in your car now, which, by the way, that's already in place in Europe. The cars that'll shut themselves down, you push the gas, and it can't see your eyes, and it says, oh, no, you can't drive the car right now. We can't see your eyes. You've got a semi-truck coming down the road at you. You're in an intersection. You push the gas, and the car's saying no. Can you imagine? Now you've got these, of course, drones that are everywhere in the air. Now they're on the water. Enough already. We're not that interesting. We're not. I mean, maybe I am. But most people are not that interesting, all right? I don't know if I am either. I seriously, I've had it. Send me emails, stevegruber.com. How much of this have you had? By the way, $37 million, apparently, is the contract for Saildrone, California, Saildrone, maritime surveillance. $37 million to put eyes on the water to watch you when you're boating on the Great Lakes this summer. I mean, seriously. I've really had all I can take. How about you? I'm going to go get some coffee. You should do the same thing. I'll be right back. Look at that.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
And welcome to it. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. It is the relentless pursuit of truth. Wherever it leads, we're going to go there. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, a Michigan Senate candidate admits she voted in the California election after she had moved away to Michigan permanently, but defends the vote, saying moving takes time. Voter fraud is what I would call it. Number two, the price you pay for chicken and beef being manipulated by foreign companies that control most of the major meat processors in America. That, according to Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins. And number three, we're on a countdown to an end to the ceasefire in Iran as President Trump seems to be getting weary of the ongoing games from whoever's in charge, and he's pulling no punches. Iran could be decimated soon, he says. Listen to this.
Well, I wouldn't have to. I didn't say that. I said that if we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years. They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording now, yeah.
Mr. President, last night you also said that only like 85% of Iran's missile-making capabilities has been eliminated.
Correct.
Is that other 15% important? Does the United States need to eliminate that?
Well, I'd like to eliminate it, yeah. I'd like to. It'd be a start for them to build up again. And yeah, I would like to eliminate it.
Sir, Sir, under what circumstances would you please start military strikes on targets?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter. If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But, you know,
yeah, we'll see.
It's a possibility that could happen.
We'll see what happens. Again, coming up here at about 45 minutes or so, we'll go live to the Pentagon with more. Ivy jumping into the conversation. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well. You know, I always find it interesting here in Michigan. We tend to have some headlines more than we would like. But in Michigan Senate candidate Mallory McMorrow, you know, defending her voting in California while she said she moved to Michigan.
Yep.
So she's been criticized because she said that she relocated to Michigan in 2014, but she had voted in California elections as late as 2016. Now, you had said it was possibly fraud, but if she only voted in California but said she lived here, I mean, is that...
That's fraud.
It's fraud.
If you're a resident of another state, that's fraud. But the bigger thing that we've been talking about, the Michigan Democratic Party convention.
Okay.
Now Attorney General Dana Nessel demanding a recount because as many as 302 votes were cast illegally, some from out of the country. That, too, is voter fraud. Can you imagine, Ivy, the Democrat convention in the state of Michigan where they hope to get the governorship and hope to get a Senate seat? Mm-hmm. There's fraud, voter fraud at its own. I thought the Democrats told us there's no such thing as voter fraud.
No, you can't
miss something.
No, I think that we do in a lot of states, especially ones that are headed by our Democratic governors, really need to clean up their voter rolls. They need to clean up the voting in their states. And you know that one of the candidates for governor here is the current Secretary of State,
right?
And she hasn't done anything that she's been legally told to do. And one
100%.
of those things is cleaning up, getting all the dead people off of
the voter rolls. Jocelyn Benson,
who
you're referring to,
hasn't done.
She is the Secretary of State, and by the Michigan voters passed a deal here a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
By law, by the state constitution, she's required to clean up the voter rolls, but they don't care.
Right.
They don't care what the rules are. They just ignore them because there's not a lot of penalty involved. And she wants to rig the race that she's running in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how more blatant can you be?
Right. Do you ever wonder, you know, in terms of like Mallory McMorrow and even like Elisa Slotkin, they didn't live in the state of Michigan prior to them running for state office.
Correct.
And I wonder, and I want to know your thoughts on this, if they are strategically put in certain states to then hey, we need you to move to Michigan and run for Senate or whatever.
One would wonder. I mean, Pete Buttigieg moved here.
Right.
3 years ago? I thought he was going to run for senator governor. He has not yet, but he has placed his flag in Michigan. Same thing.
Right.
Alyssa
Well,
Slotkin.
he's under a tremendous amount of scrutiny right now,
Yeah,
especially
what an
after
idiot.
the Spirit Airlines bankruptcy announced a
Right.
couple days
But
ago.
back to your question, I think you look at Alyssa Slotkin. Oh, she's a CIA member. She was an analyst.
Right.
That is the lowest level job in the CIA. She looks at stuff. And they pass them off as some, super important government official, worked in both the Bush and Biden administration, something.
Right.
It's nonsense. They do handpick candidates better than they used to. But in many ways, I think it's an oversale. I don't know if it's fraud exactly, but it's certainly overhyping a resume that doesn't mean a hell of a lot. And so did she get moved here? Maybe.
Unfortunately, though, it worked here in the state of Michigan because
Unfortunately.
she was elected. But I want to move on to the Trump administration targeting the big four meat packers in the antitrust crackdown.
Yeah.
So Acting Attorney General Tom Blanche, he has announced that they have over 3 million documents, and they've spoken to hundreds of people across the cattle and beef supply chain as part of this ongoing antitrust investigation. And President Trump ordered this because there has been a tremendous amount of price surges in beef, and 80 to 85% of beef processing is controlled by 4 companies: Tyson Foods, Cargill, JBS, and National Beef. And so they're wondering, hey, are you guys price fixing?
Well,
are you
are
you colluding and manipulating supply to increase the cost?
And here's the important note. Owned by Brazil, owned by China, owned by foreign entities, manipulating the price of meat in America.
Is Tyson still American owned? I think it is.
I think that's the last one.
Yeah, but
I'm
the other three are not.
That's correct. Owned by Brazil and the Chinese Communist Party and others, manipulating the price that Americans pay at the grocery store. And look,
I do find that concerning, don't you?
especially in election year. Oh, look, the price of hamburger has skyrocketed just before the midterm elections. The price of chicken is out of control just before the midterm elections, of course, yeah.
Well, not only that, but when you have foreign entities, especially like the CCP,
Controlling your food.
and they're operating in America, and they are controlling your food supply. That kind of is a little concerning to me.
It is concerning to me. We were at this governor's debate over the weekend, you and I, here in Michigan. And something I heard that I did not know. In the UP of Michigan, Singapore owns 5% of the landmass.
Right.
Of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The nation of Singapore owns 1 acre and 20 belongs to Singapore. And they were talking about that, saying that should not be allowed. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. Foreign ownership of our farmland, of our meat supply. Come on, people. We're smarter than this.
Yeah, absolutely. But, this kind of brings me to thinking about when we're talking about, reducing the amount of meat that's in our food supply.
Yeah.
With these 4 meat packers. The other thing, though, is, having these like carbon passports, or what states like Washington are trying to do, or Oregon, which is reduce or eliminate hunting. And I'm just thinking, like, how much more limitations on our freedoms are we just going to stand for?
None, Ivy. The curtain's being pulled back.
Right.
It's a great story. Brooke Rollins doing a great job at the Ag Department. She really is, pointing this stuff out.
Agreed.
Got to run. Love you.
Love you.
All right. Important topics. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now. Homelessness has been something we've talked about since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. And yet, homelessness gets worse. We spend more money, tax dollars. We have new initiatives, seems like every other week. California is the poster child of what doesn't work, in my estimation. My next guest, Michelle Steve, is the founder of Free Up Foundation and author of Answers Behind the Red Door, Battling the Homeless Epidemic. She was 13 years as CEO of Northern California's largest program for homeless women and children and a visiting fellow with the Discovery Institute's Fix Homelessness Initiative. Good to have you here, Michelle. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, and I'm looking forward to our discussion.
So homelessness seems to get worse every year. We spend more money, but the results don't seem to be there. What seems to be the problem?
Sure. Well, and let me just give a little context, take us back in history. Up until about 30 years ago, the church was really in charge of homelessness response at the local level. And slowly but surely, as the federal government has done in many other areas, the federal government took over. They're now the largest funder of homelessness. And back in 2012, they decided, the Obama administration, that the solution to all of this was just to give them a house, keys to an apartment without any requirements that they engage in, drug treatment or alcohol addiction treatment or mental health treatment, no requirements to be sober, no requirements actually to work ever. And President Obama promised in 2013, as he rolled out this mandate, that all the federal money would now just be spent on keys to an apartment. He promised it would end homelessness in a decade. And not only has it not ended homelessness, homelessness has surged by 35% across the country. And it's for the basic premise that human beings were designed for much more than sitting in a house. And that's what this, sitting in an apartment, that's what this policy requires, that they sit there, they don't have to engage in any treatment, they don't have to work, they've lost their purpose, and they don't have to do anything.
And, Gavin Newsom is maybe even worse. Every time he's run for any office, he says, I'm going to tackle homelessness. They spend billions of dollars, in California, and they've accomplished absolutely nothing. Neighborhoods are terrible. In fact, Rashida Tlaib in Michigan is now introducing a homeless Bill of Rights so that people can camp anywhere. They can live on the street. They can take over your neighborhood park. They can do anything they want. This is the Democrat answer: chaos and anarchy. It's insane to me.
Absolutely. And in fact, in California, they're the only state in the nation that followed the feds in mandating housing first, right? This keys to an apartment approach. And in California, homelessness, since they mandated that in 2016, homelessness is up almost 40%. Gavin Newsom last year literally vetoed a bill that would have set aside 10% of state funding, homelessness funding, for sober housing, and he vetoed it. They are deliberately, fueling chaos and despair on our streets. There's no reason why he would have vetoed that bill otherwise.
It's all right, Michelle. First of all, you need to have more purpose in life than sitting on the couch playing video games stoned in your free apartment. I think most people would agree with that. All right? I think most people are there with you. How do we get there? Because what happens is you've got, as you pointed out, the church has been removed from the equation. And that's in a variety of places, because churches used to be the place for a lot of things: meals, housing, help homelessness, help people off the streets, all of these things. And the church has been blocked out time and again. And how has that turned out for everybody?
Well, it hasn't turned out well. As we mentioned, homelessness has surged, and it's now a drug and alcohol and mental health issue, because when these are diseases of the brain, and when diseases go untreated, just like cardiovascular disease or cancer, when they go untreated, they get worse. And we have neglected these diseases over the last 12 years. So thankfully, President Trump and his administration has issued an executive order saying that we can no longer, follow this same approach of keys to an apartment, that we need to prioritize drug and alcohol treatment, reprioritize it. Drug and alcohol treatment, we need to bring the church back into the equation. We need law enforcement's help. I mean, we need an all hands on deck approach that is really focused on what I call human first versus housing first, treating the human being versus just allowing them to linger in a house.
Yeah. We have to fix the problem. You don't fix the problem by shoveling more money at it, which has been tried, like I said, since 1965. The Great Society has been a colossal failure, costing America more than $30 trillion. Ironically, the cost of the Great Society is not too far off from our national debt. I don't think it's a coincidence. It's been a colossal failure by any metric. I don't care how you measure it. Poverty has not gone down appreciably. It's shifted from the elderly to children, but the numbers are still remarkably high for poverty in America. Homelessness has gotten worse, as you pointed out. The answer is not money. Last word to you.
Well, I would say don't give up. There is hope that this can be turned around. I watched it in thousands and thousands of cases. The president has he's put the right direction in place. Unfortunately, the homeless advocacy organizations are fighting him tooth and nail to keep the current system going. But I do believe, number one, that this will be turned around. It can be turned around, and that with this president, this administration behind it, it will start to head in the right direction. It's not an overnight fix. All of this is going to take time, but we're now got the boat steered in the right direction.
At least for now. That's why you need to vote in November. Michelle, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate it. What are your thoughts on that one? SteveGruber.com. Send me an email. I'll be right back. All right, we've talked about this week, and I want you to focus on parenting for a moment. What if parents are choosing what's for dinner? What do the kids eat? Meat, vegetables, and so forth? If kids choose dinner, what do they eat? Ice cream, McDonald's, whatever else, popcorn, Lucky Charms. We sat down, Ivy and I did, with Dr. Leonard Sachs, physician, psychologist, best-selling author, for the latest episode of Forgotten America. And I want to give you a bit of a preview here because he talks about parenting and how important it is and how lost it is today in America. Listen.
So this culture of disrespect is an American phenomenon. And again,
and why?
The original subtitle. So the book is titled "The Culture of Disrespect," and the subtitle of the book that I sent to the publisher, the subtitle was "Why Most Kids Would Now Be Better Off Raised Outside North America." And that was a reference to the fact that American kids are now 10, 20, 50 times more likely to be on psychiatric medications compared to kids in Scotland, compared to kids in Germany, compared to kids in New Zealand. Well, if you're not a celebrity, you don't get to choose your subtitle. And they threw that out. Although they kept in the data showing that kids in America are much, much more likely to be on psychiatric medication. 40 years ago, that wasn't the case. 40 years ago, there was no difference in the prescribing of psychiatric medications for kids in the United States,
So-
kids in Europe.
There you have it. Check out the podcast. Great conversations. He talks about parenting in a way, and I learned some things along the way. So will you. Become a subscriber on YouTube. It is free. Click the QR code on your screen or just go search Steve Gruber at YouTube. Subscribe for free. You're going to love these podcasts. Let me tell you, you really are. Let's talk about something we all deal with, banking, and more importantly, customer service from your bank. Because let's be honest, most banks you call, it's a maze of robots and recordings, but not at Old Glory Bank. Their entire team works on U.S. soil, and when you call, you get a real American person that speaks English on the phone, someone who actually helps you. No nonsense. That's the way banking should be done. Check it out and make the switch today. Go to oldglorybank.com/Rav and open your account. That's oldglorybank.com/Rav. Still coming up, we've got David Zier at the Pentagon. We'll go live for the briefing there in just a few minutes right here. Good to see you this morning. Send me an email, stevegruber.com, or jump in one of the chats at YouTube or Getter. Make yourself heard. I'll be right back. All right, let's jump back into the program now. I saw this story out of California, and it really caught my attention because in this interconnected world, man, there are thieves out there, and they've got your number dialed in. I want you to hear this story man, they'll find new and interesting ways to steal from you every single day. Listen to this one.
In An early morning FBI fraud takedown across LA County. Fox 11, the only TV crew there, as federal agents and police storm a North Hollywood home, zeroing in on a man they say is tied to a sprawling mortgage fraud scheme.
It's a complex fraud scheme in which people are using private citizens' homes to leverage that to steal money.
So they figure out the information. They steal your house, well, at least on paper, and then use that to steal from other people, moving all of these different players on the chessboard, if you will. Tom Simon joining me, spokesman for Home Title Lock, former FBI special agent, 26 years experience investigating white-collar crime, counterterrorism, and national security matters as well. Tom, here we go again. Look, this is a complex scheme. All sorts of people involved here. What do you know about this one?
Yeah, so the criminals here, it was a group of 11 people, obtained hard money loans using senior citizens' houses as collateral, with the proceeds going into bank accounts the bad guys had established using synthetic identities. We're talking $17 million here.
$17 million? Over what period of time?
It was just over a few months. The lenders are the ones who are going to suffer the economic losses, but I look at it from the senior citizen homeowner's perspective, right? They now have liens on their houses in the county clerk's office, but these unwitting lenders had placed on their houses, and it's going to be the homeowner's responsibility to get those liens removed.
All right, so $17 million in mortgage fraud schemes, and this is just one example of how this plays out. 11 people involved over a few months. What happens to these people? What are the laws on the books, Tom, to hold these people accountable?
Well, again, there's not a specific law involving home title theft, so they're going to be charged with wire fraud. And, my guess is that the 11 people are going to start cooperating against each other, and the first people in the door get the best deal.
Right. But somebody's going to... Here's the problem. The pace of technology is outpacing the law. I mean, that's pretty clear. If stealing somebody's title to get $17 million by using elderly people's titles as collateral for something that you stole to steal something else, I mean, it's quite a complex thing. And the laws are not keeping up with how fast the criminals are moving.
I completely
Am I right?
agree. Absolutely. There needs to be a law in the books making home title theft a crime itself. The crazy thing is the homeowners don't even know they've been victimized until the foreclosure notices start arriving in the mail months later.
All right. So you work for Home Title Lock. And if this happened to somebody and they had Home Title Lock, they're protected from this sort of a scam, aren't they?
Absolutely. Home Title Lock is going to monitor the status of your home title. They're going to notify you if a lien is placed upon your home because someone goes out and gets a loan on it. And then they have a U.S.-based restoration team that's going to spend $1 million making sure that home is placed back into your proper name.
Yeah. Time to protect yourself. If you're watching right now, I don't want the next story that we air here with you, with Tom, is about you. Protect yourself. Tom Simon, out there finding these stories, $17 million. Don't let this be you. Tom, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right. Use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com to make sure the title of your home is still in your name. I mean, they're going after that equity. You pay your mortgage for all these years, and they say, oh, nice target. By the way, you'll also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of the $1 million triple lock protection at Home Title Lock. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Go to HometitleLock.com. Promo code is Gruber. HometitleLock.com. Promo code is Gruber. HometitleLock.com. Continuing on now. As we dig deeper, I want to go back to something Ivy was talking about a moment ago as we shift gears here. And that is the manipulation of these beef prices. 2 of the 4 big meat packers in America are owned by Brazilian companies. When it gets to chicken, China owns chicken. China owns the pork that you buy at the store oftentimes. Smithfield, huge meat packer, owned by China. It's a problem for you. And of course, you wouldn't put it past the Chinese or the Brazilian government to manipulate meat prices in front of the 2026 midterms, now would you? Foreign investment in our food supply is a dangerous thing from where I stand. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins thinks the same thing. Here's one of her comments yesterday.
The consolidation in U.S. meatpacking has led to just 4 meatpackers: JBS, a Brazilian-owned company, Cargill, Tyson Foods, and National Beef, another Brazilian company. Those 4 companies monopolize about 85% of the U.S. processing market today. But it hasn't always been that way. The rate of this 4-firm control has accelerated since the 1970s. According to USDA data, concentration for cattle slaughter of these 4 was only 25% in 1977 and jumped to 71% by 1992. As mentioned today, it is an astounding 85%. Notably, these 4 firms now own together more than 70 subsidiary companies today. They don't own them together, but in total, there are 70 subsidiary companies that are owned by these 4.
Yeah, they run the place, right? And so what happened is the small meat packers, the small farmers, pushed out again. What does that do to you? Where does your beef come from? How many miles has it traveled to get to your table? Support your local farmer if you can. We try to. You should as well. Support your local farmer if you can. These big conglomerates, they care about one thing, the bottom dollar. And the other thing about these places that we've seen, they're flooded with illegal aliens cutting the meat. We've seen it time and again. A lot of problems here. Anthony, I want to skip to this bite number 3. I want to leave you on a high note. All right, I'm going to leave you on a high note right now. Because I think that Victor Glover is a national treasure. He was one of the Artemis II astronauts. And let me say this. He answers a question about being black and flying around the moon. And I think he does a masterful job. Listen.
How did it feel to be the first person of color to fly to or around the moon?
You know, good question. Amaya, thank you for the question. And I will tell you, one of the things about swinging for the fence and trying to, hit a home run when the game is on the line is, if you think about that can add pressure and make you not, go up there and play your best game. And so I focused a lot on working with this team and trying to be a good teammate, to them and also receive from them their good teamwork. And I think one of the reasons we were as successful as we did is we spent a lot of time thinking about us and not me individually. And so I would answer this by maybe just making a visual lesson here that I spent a lot of time thinking about this patch and not this patch. And now we get to be here and we get to talk about it, though.
Yes.
I love it.
He is a national treasure. Victor Glover, a proud Christian American. Not a black American, not an African, an American, like Teddy Roosevelt said. A hyphenated American is no American at all. Either you're an American or you're something else. That man loves this country. And race, that doesn't matter. What matters is who you surround yourself with. What a great message. What a great message. Let that just marinate for a moment. I'll be right back. Well, in the last 24 hours, Iran has thrown missiles, drones, and other armaments at ships in the Strait of Hormuz, including U.S. warships. Nothing got through. Apparently, we vaporized half a dozen of those small attack boats as well. David Zier is the chief Pentagon correspondent for Real America's Voice. He's live at the Pentagon. There's going to be a briefing there in just a few minutes, and he'll be there for us as well. David, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Yeah, a lot of action yesterday on Monday, not so much overnight reportedly, but Monday, Sunday night into Monday, missiles were flying into the UAE, shot down 3 cruise missiles, 12 ballistic missiles, 4 UAVs launched yesterday from Iran. And the foreign minister claims that there's progress with the Pakistanis in talks, but is the IRGC gone rogue? And that is the question. And is the ceasefire violated? If it is a rogue element, how do we address that? I think we'll get some more answers today. And CNBC reporting that there's only a 59% traffic will return to normal by September 1st. And also premiums are 30 times higher in the insurance markets for these ships. As of today, there's no reported ships traversing the Strait of Hormuz yet through U.S. military escorts. Maybe there's an update at today's briefing. But I wanted to ask Pete Hegseth, if I get the opportunity today, and Chairman Kane, General Kane, if there's a divide between Tehran and the IRGC, is that a violation of the ceasefire? And also of these fast boats, Defense News reported that 1,500 fast boats existed in February, 250 of them had anti-ship cruise missiles. How many of those are left? And did China supply any weapons such as anti-ship cruise missiles during the ceasefire? So a lot on the plate today. Other countries outraged by the latest attacks in the Gulf, especially possibly the South Korean tanker that was hit. But when will they step up to the plate and help us?
That's a good question. Anthony, I want to go to bite 6 here because, David, I want you to hear the president address this yesterday. He was very serious about Iran breaking the ceasefire. And you make a good point. If it's rogue elements, how do you handle that? But here's what the president had to say. Listen.
Well, I wouldn't have to. I didn't say that. I said that if we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years. They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording now. Yeah.
Mr. President, last night you also said that only 85% of Iran's missile-making capabilities has been eliminated.
Correct.
Is that other 15% important? Does the United States need to eliminate that?
Well, I'd like to eliminate it, yeah. I'd like to. It'd be a start for them to build up again. And, yeah, I would like to eliminate it.
Sir, under what circumstances would you restart military strikes on targets?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter. If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But, it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
Now, the president's been clear. The president's been clear, David. And in fact, he made a comment that he would wipe them off the face of the earth. Look, you're in a dangerous zone there in the Strait of Hormuz. If an American warship gets hit, if Americans get killed, I don't think we've lost anybody since the early days of this conflict. 13 was the last number I saw. I don't think that has changed recently. But I think that I think the ceasefire is fragile right now, David, but I'm not sure. And these are the important questions the American people want to know, aren't they?
Yes, and can they make it to the China talks without hostilities resuming again? It doesn't appear that they're going to make it that far without at least targeting maybe some of the IRGC units. We'll be looking for updates today out of the Pentagon. But, despite a lot of media reporting turmoil in the Gulf, we have had a ceasefire for a couple of weeks now. And this Project Freedom to get these ships through the strait should resume. We have the best technology. We've had over 100 missiles fired at our Abraham Lincoln, and not one has gotten through. And these DDGs are now operating within the strait. They have really high-tech Aegis class, baseline 9.2 systems that can track, both land and sea threats. I'm confident that the U.S. military has a handle over there, and we'll see if any more ships get attacked.
Sure. The other part of the equation, David, as you know, is the economic fury portion of this ongoing operation with Iran. How long can Iran continue to pump oil, even if they've slowed down the oil rigs and slowed down how much they have to put into storage? The fact of the matter is they're losing $400 million a day because their ships are not leaving. They're not going to China. They're not going to India. They're not going anywhere. And the economic damage to Iran is massive. In fact, reports, the few that you get out of the country, are that the economy is in shambles. The people are not getting, proper food, proper water. Real problems from this, isn't there?
Yes, but remember, it's a 4,000-year-old civilization, so maybe they can go a long time without the creature comforts and technology and lights, So we'll see where that goes. And there's reports that there's a lot of trucking of oil and gas being smuggled outside of the country, huge traffic jams and stuff, but not nearly enough to take off the load of these tanks that are filled, which will be damaged if it goes too long. So we'll see.
Absolutely true. David Zier live at the Pentagon this morning for us. David, that briefing coming up in about 9 minutes or so. We appreciate you being here. We'll check back later. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Steve.
And there you have it. So what are your thoughts on the state of the war at this point? It's something that has not sat well with some Trump voters, others completely on board with him. In fact, I saw a poll from CNN yesterday. MAGA support for Donald Trump is at 100%. I'm no mathematician, but I don't think you can get much higher than 100%. I think that's pretty much the top of the mountain. So MAGA is with the president. Even if they don't like some of the things that have happened in Iran, they're still on board with him. But where does this lead? Is the ceasefire coming to a close? We'll have to keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on that Pentagon briefing starting now in about 8 minutes. We'll let you know what happens. After the break, we'll have Brock Palmbush and sports. Don't go anywhere. Nice to see you this morning. Get a cup of coffee. We'll be right back. All right, let's check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. The second round of the NBA playoffs began last night with a pair of game ones. In the East, New York annihilated Philadelphia 137-98, and out west, Minnesota upset San Antonio on the road 104-102. Earlier in the day, the Orlando Magic fired head coach Jamal Mosley after 5 seasons at the helm. His Magic blew a 3-1 series lead to Detroit in round 1, culminating with a Game 7 loss on Sunday. In the NHL playoffs, round 2, Carolina took a 2-0 series lead on Philadelphia with a 3-2 overtime win, and Vegas won Game 1 of round 2 with a 3-1 victory at home over Anaheim. In Major League Baseball, there were 12 games. American League winners included Boston, Kansas City, and Seattle. National League winners included the New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, and LA Dodgers. And two-time defending AL Cy Young Award winner Tarek Skubal will have surgery on his left elbow, will miss 2 to 3 months. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, I got a question for you. I saw some reports yesterday that Fernando Mendoza, the guy who led Indiana to the national championship, number 1 overall draft pick in the NFL draft here a couple weeks back, they are saying, and I don't know if they're sniping at the guy, say he's not ready to go, that he's not NFL material. I'm seeing this in a variety of places. What are your thoughts?
Oh, wow. Well, you never know for sure until they actually get out onto the field. That's why the Raiders signed Kirk Cousins as a backup, just in case Mendoza shows he isn't ready. Because if he struggles in training camp, I don't think they're going to throw him out there. But if he plays well enough in preseason and in training camp, they'll start him. They'll be under pressure to start him.
Yeah, we're all that money.
Yeah, because the Raiders were the worst team in the NFL last year.
Yeah.
And they're kind of starting over to a large degree.
Like Kirk Cousins. And at this rate, Kirk Cousins will play for all 32 NFL teams before it's over.
Well, and maybe he'll exceed $300 million in career earnings in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody who's just been above average quarterback for about 15 years, he's done very well financially.
Keeps himself in good shape. He's just good enough to sign. Good enough to sign. Good enough to sign.
At this point in his career, he's 38 now. Yeah.
Yeah. Done a magnificent job. $300 million. It's about the amount of my contract last year. Yeah.
In our dreams.
Thank you, Brock. Always appreciate it. For those of you on Real America's Voice, Sunrise is next. For the rest of you on streaming and MTN networks, Hour 3 is right around the corner. We'll be right back.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
And welcome to it as we continue on here today with the latest news. And here is a crazy story. Three big things this hour. Crazy story number one. There's a cruise ship floating around, and the hantavirus is spreading through the ship. More than 20 nationalities, a couple of hundred people on board. 3 have died. Number two, Democrats in disarray in Michigan as there's voter fraud at the Democratic convention, apparently. We're going to talk about that. And number three, the redistricting battles continue. Tennessee and Alabama stepping up to the plate now. Alabama could add 2 Republican seats, Tennessee another one. You add that to 5 in Texas, 4 in Florida, another one in Missouri, maybe other places as well. And you realize that California might be frozen because of the decision by the United States Supreme Court. Virginia has yet to certify its election for new districts because of the Supreme Court there saying no. So there you have it. That could mean a dozen seats to the Republicans, maybe 14. And that would really hurt the Democrats' chances of retaking the House. The Senate is not going to happen. I know that in Ohio they were hoping for a flip to the old Senator Sherrod Brown is running for re-election there. But the current Senator, Jon Husted, has just done something unprecedented. I don't like that word, but it is unprecedented. He secured a record-breaking 75 endorsements from Ohio's 88 county sheriffs, the largest show of support from law enforcement in state history in Ohio, including a clean sweep of independent sheriffs and a show of support from across party lines as well, Democrat sheriffs, rejecting Sherrod Brown, who was an open-border Democrat, a guy who was there for all the COVID lockdowns, cheering them on. Jon Husted replaced J.D. Vance when he was selected and elected as vice president of the United States, and he looks like he's going to hold that seat. Good news for the Republicans. Republicans also in a very good position to flip Michigan and Georgia. We'll see how it all plays out. But despite President Trump's low approval ratings right now, the Democrats have lower approval ratings. It's remarkable and unbelievable. And in Michigan, I want to go to this because this is voter fraud is something the Democrats say doesn't happen, right? Voter fraud, never enough. It's very rare, so on and so forth. Well, at the Democrat convention back on April the 19th, hundreds of the Democrats voted against the rules. They voted from foreign countries. They voted from home. Remote voting is not allowed, according to the Democrats, and now the Attorney General is calling for a recount. Dana Nessel calling for a recount because they believe it was tainted. The entire process was tainted. Michigan Democratic Attorney General Dana Nessel backing a growing push to recount all votes from the Democrats' statewide convention back April 19th. 6,000 delegates or more were in the room to vote on candidates to represent the party for jobs like Secretary of State, Attorney General, University Board of Trustees. State Senator Sylvia Santana was the first Democrat to say, wait a second. She wants an independent audit of convention's elections, alleging an investigation she led that found material errors in the voting system. Material errors. It's called fraud, Senator. Here's what she said. I learned in the days immediately following the convention that the Election Buddy app did not correctly attribute my votes or my congressional district, and I immediately notified the impacted candidates and the state party chair. That's what A.G. Nessel wrote, affirming Santana's calls for an independent audit. But in her statement, Nessel shut down in the effort to draw a false equivalency between the Democrats' internal voting systems and statewide elections. Of course she did. They don't want to admit there was fraud at their own convention. Fraud. Those who traffic in election conspiracies will seek any and every opportunity to undermine public confidence in our elections. Your elections were garbage, Madam Attorney General. Garbage. You had people voting from foreign countries. Oh, but that couldn't happen in a general election. Really? Really? Yeah. These results have no bearings on the veracity of state-run elections. Yes, they do, Madam Attorney General, with all due respect. The internal drama within the Democrat Party comes as Governor Whitmer and her administration continue to push back against the Justice Department request for Wayne County's 2024 voter data. But here it is. Part 2 of the story this morning. Governor Whitmer appointed Judge Forces the Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, who's running to be governor, to stop hiding critical voting data from the public. Court of Claims Judge Christopher Yates ruled in favor of longtime election integrity advocate Fanny Mantravati, founder of Check My Vote, in his FOIA request, Freedom of Information request, against the Michigan Bureau of Elections. The fight was over the Bureau's sudden decision in March 2024 to begin redacting the all-important voting type column from the qualified voter file. This column shows whether each voter cast their ballot on Election Day, early in-person voting, or absentee. For years, this critical information was publicly available. Then, under Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, again, who's running to be governor of Michigan, the Bureau quietly stripped all that information out, saying it was to protect the secret ballot. How people voted has nothing to do with protecting a secret ballot, quite clearly. If you voted absentee, fine. If you voted in person, fine. They're just numbers. It's not a person's name or how they voted. It's just the different columns of how people vote. Do more people vote in person? Do more people vote with mail-in ballots? And so on and so forth. Yates, who Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer appointed to the Michigan Court of Appeals, wasn't buying Benson's story about why they need to hide the truth about the type of voting used by each voter in Michigan. The court ruled that the vast majority of voting type information must be released to the public under the Freedom of Information Act. The judge made it crystal clear that the Bureau failed to prove any valid FOIA exemption or constitutional reason to blanket redact this data for every voter in the entire state. He noted that the limited redaction might be justified only in extremely rare cases involving very small precincts. Here's what he wrote. The court agrees with plaintiff that the vast majority of voting type information should be publicly available because such disclosure will not compromise the constitutional right of electors to cast a secret ballot. Judge Yates also rejected the Bureau's attempt to use the FOIA privacy exemption, pointing out that voting type information has long been considered public in Michigan and is not information of a personal nature. It's not the first time. In 24, Yates ruled against Benson in another case that was a huge win for election integrity in Michigan. A Whitmer appointee standing up for the rule of law. The Democrats trying to figure out how voter fraud occurred at its own convention. So, voter fraud at the Democrat convention. An order by a court to release the information about how people vote in Michigan. Two big election integrity wins for the good guys. Tell us how you vote. Not who you are or who you voted for, but how you voted. It's important to know how people vote these days. Election integrity is winning bit by bit, step by step, one bite at a time. I'll be right back. In case you missed it, President Trump yesterday held a small business roundtable at the White House to discuss the backbone of America's economy. That is the small business owner, the small business employee. Small business really powers this country. Joining me now, Kelly Loeffler, the Small Business Administration Administrator. Madam Administrator, welcome back to the program. Nice to have you today.
Steve, good morning. I'm delighted to be with y'all.
All right, so the local economy is still recovering. Look, COVID cost this state that I live in 6,000 small businesses. Happened across the country, but you guys are fighting back. What are you doing to put the small businesses back on the map and give them the confidence to continue forward?
It's a great question because there has never been a more pro-small business, pro-growth president than President Trump. And we see that in all the policies that have been enacted. If you think about the working families tax cut, we just had April 15th tax day. Remember, every single Democrat voted to raise taxes on hardworking employees and the small businesses that create most of the new jobs in this country. It would have destroyed 6 million jobs in this country if we did not have that tax rate sustained and taxes cut for working families. We're deregulating. We're making sure that we have fair trade. Made in America, that's huge here in Michigan. If you think about, when I landed last night, it was great to see all the manufacturing and all across the country, it's coming back. We have to have Made in America. It's absolutely vital, not just to big business, but to small business, because we know that those big producers rely on the small manufacturers to help supply their production.
Yeah, and all this week, it is National Small Business Week, by the way, runs through the 9th of May. And you're going from state to state to talk about small business, right? What are your, give us your schedule.
Well, this is kind of what I do every week because my favorite place to be is out on the road with small businesses, but particularly during Small Business Week, myself and my deputy administrator, we will be covering 10 states. So we're going to be all across the country. I'm actually kicking it off here in Michigan after leaving the White House to recognize small businesses yesterday. I'm going to move on to North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Georgia. We got folks in Nebraska, New Hampshire, Maine, all over the country because small business makes up 99% of all businesses. Right here in Michigan, there's over 900,000 small businesses. So they employ, 47% of Michigan's population. About 1.9 million Michiganders work for small businesses. So it's absolutely critical that they hear from us to know that we're fighting for them. And then the best thing I love is to take their ideas back to Washington and make sure that we're working on implementing them.
And one of the things this president, this administration, and you have been working on, cutting taxes. We saw that in the One Big Beautiful Bill. We're seeing tax returns and refunds like we've never seen before. Deregulation also, taking away the barriers that allow businesses to be successful. These are the cornerstones of what you're doing, aren't they?
Well, absolutely. Those are the kind of big three are obviously tax cuts because we believe the American people know best what to do with the money that they work so hard to earn. It should stay in their pockets. Deregulation, that's another tax. Look, the Biden administration put $6 trillion of excess regulation on hardworking small businesses. And then you look at fair trade. That's restoring our national manufacturing dominance, frankly, and a lot of it's right here in Michigan. And I think what that does is it's not just about manufacturing businesses. When you have builders and doers and makers in America, other businesses spring up around it. I've seen it everywhere I go, from Alabama to Maine to Alaska. So the more that we create industry here, the more we have vibrancy in our main streets, our local communities, and our rural communities.
Yeah, I see a lot of these blue states, and in fact, you mentioned Maine. They're rolling out this new billionaire tax. We're seeing an exodus, companies like Starbucks fleeing Washington, the tech companies fleeing California. Look, when you put up too much regulation and try to tax the job creators, they'll go to Tennessee or Texas or Florida or Alabama or somewhere else. We face the same problems in Michigan. We need to lower taxes, lower regulation, make it easier to succeed, don't we?
Absolutely. You know, the saying goes, if you want less of something, tax it. Well, they want less revenue, less people, less industry, less vibrancy. And that's what these blue states are getting. And these policies have failed over and over. But the virtue signaling is immense, and people just are now competing to see who can treat job creators and small businesses worse, I think. So what's great is that we are providing a roadmap in the Trump administration: deregulate, cut taxes, build things in your states, create vibrancy, have a skilled workforce, have those programs that bring people into opportunity that, you know, just in manufacturing alone, there's 400,000 open jobs in America. We have 7 million open jobs in this country. So this is an opportunity economy like we've never seen, and it's just the first year.
Yeah, the job numbers really encouraging. The lowest unemployment numbers since the 1960s when it comes to first-time unemployment claims. These are all positive signs. If and when the price of energy comes down, which it will, and the Fed reduces interest rates, it's going to be great guns out there. Last word to you.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the other thing I should mention is wage growth. We finally have wage growth in this country, up almost 4% year over year. Under Joe Biden, they destroyed wage growth. They destroyed jobs. And so we're rebuilding every aspect. So it's not just more jobs, it's better paying jobs, it's more opportunity. And that's the path we're going to continue on while we celebrate National Small Business Week starting right here in Michigan.
Well, Kelly Loeffler, enjoy your visit here to our great state. We love it. We'd like to change some policies and make it a better place for everyone. And we appreciate you starting here. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it, Kelly Loeffler, Small Business Administration Administrator. She's been there, was a senator from the state of Georgia as well previous to that. But here she is, Small Business Week, kicking it off yesterday with the president and now here in Michigan. It's a good sign. Michigan matters. #1 swing state. Make no mistake, Michigan is ground zero for the midterm elections. #1 swing state. I believe that. So does the president. He's told me many times. I'll be right back. I have another indication here today of the backlash against the scam that going to college is for so many people anymore. They leave college with 6 figures of debt and no job to be found because they were sold a bill of goods. This is why I have said for years, I believe these colleges should be co-signers on the loan. If somebody graduates from your institution of higher learning and it's 5 years down the road or 10 or whatever you make the threshold, if that graduate of your university or college has still not found gainful employment and owes piles of money, you get to pick up the tab. Make universities and colleges a lot more responsive to the actual needs of the workforce and everything that is needed. Here's another indication of that. Penn State University cutting 49 of its undergraduate majors this fall. 49. May close 7 campuses. People are over this whole go-to-college deal. Get massive debt, and good luck ever paying it back while you try to find a job in communications or whatever other useless degree you got. Right? I'm just telling you. Penn State, 49 majors, closing 7 campuses. They won't be the last. This is just another canary in the coal mine moment. I'm telling you. I slept great again last night. I love Ghost Bed. I do. I've had it for what, 2 months now? What a great sleeping system. American-made Ghost Bed. The prices are better. The quality is unmatched. It's incredible. I sleep like I'm supposed to. I don't wake up tired. I'm not waking up hurt. And by the way, they're cooling mattresses. I'm not smoking hot. I can't sleep if I'm hot. You might be like that as well. Serious health equipment. You're designed to recover. That's what you're supposed to do when you sleep, to recover. Your body should be healing when you sleep, not fighting for comfort. So here's my recommendation to you. Go to ghostbed.com. You'll get 101 days to decide whether you like it or not. 101 days to decide whether you like this product or not. I think you're going to love it. But if you don't, no problem. Send it back risk-free. Ghostbed offering my audience the lowest price of the season as well, plus an extra 10% off. Go to ghostbed.com/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to be really happy you did this. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. The promo code's Gruber. Save money and sleep like I do. Like a baby. All right? Ghostbed.com. I'll take a break. I'll be right back. All right, just telling you about Penn State getting rid of 49 majors, closing 7 campuses because so many people are like, wait a second, $100,000 in debt, right? $100,000 in debt, and what to show for it. My next guest has a different idea of higher education. Shai Reshef is the University of the People president. University of the People is the first nonprofit, tuition-free, American-accredited online university dedicated to opening access to higher education globally. That's what it says on its website. Shai, nice to see you today.
Nice to see you, and thank you for inviting me.
Glad to have you here. So your approach to education is different. Look, a lot of people, and I believe this about universities. I believe they should be co-signers on loans. And if a student 5 years down the line can't repay the loans because they got a degree that wasn't worth much, the university should be there with them. And I think that you're seeing that with universities and colleges closing in this country. People have said, look, I'm not going to go get $100,000 in debt. Why are you different?
I'm different because we are tuition free, which means we're not free, but we charge the students, asking them to pay $160 per course. So a full degree is $6,400 for as long as it takes them, or $1,600 a year. They come out without any debt. Moreover, we only teach them the degrees that are relevant for them to get a job. Business administration, computer science, and health science, and master in business administration, computer science, and IT and education, the degrees that are likely to help them find a job. We have 170,000 students at University of the People coming from all over the world. A lot of them are obviously the biggest countries, or the largest countries, the US. And we show that higher education can be accessible, affordable, with the right quality. And the fact that we are accredited by WASC together with Stanford and Berkeley means that indeed that's what we're doing, and we're doing good. Our graduates work in amazing places such as Amazon, Google, IBM, World Bank, etc. So higher education can be different, and that's exactly what we are here to show, that higher education, as I said, can be accessible, affordable to all with the right quality.
And how long have you been at this? How long has the University of People been in existence?
17 years by now. So we started in 2009 with 180,000 students. We're growing every year exponentially. By now we have 170,000 students, and we are continue to grow because there are so many millions of people around the world who need a higher education and do not have the opportunity. And we want to open the gates for them, as well as showing other universities that there is a way of doing it.
So, again, you only offer a very select number of degree programs. What was it, 5 or 6? Not very many, right? So you focus where you think the need is. That's what you're telling me.
Exactly. We think that most of the people, especially the students who come to us, if you can go to Harvard, go to Harvard. But a lot of people cannot go to Harvard, and they need an opportunity that is affordable. And in order to be affordable, first of all, we have few degrees, but we want to make sure that the degrees will lead our students to a job, to a better future. And that's exactly what we concentrate on. We also offer certificates for people who want to get certificate. We work with IBM on IBM certificates, so people can come to us, get IBM certificates, and after a few months, go find a job, and at the same time, move toward a progress toward a degree with us. So we are very practical, very few electives, very dedicated program, and people who are there to help them progress and achieve their dream, which is a degree. People come to us to have a better future, and that's why we are there for them, and we're doing our best to indeed fulfill their dream and our dream.
I want to circle back to the $6,400. Is that the total cost of a degree or per year? What was that number again?
No. That's for as many years as it takes you. If you study 1 year full time, it's $1,600. If you study part time, it's less. So to complete a full degree, 4 years, or if it takes you longer, it's still $6,400 for the entire bachelor degree. You don't need to pay anything else. We don't ask you to buy textbooks. There is no extra hidden cost. That's all there is.
That's all of it. So where are you located?
In the cloud.
So well, I understand that, but you have an office somewhere. You're sitting in an office. You're somewhere.
Well, we are registered in Delaware, but we are in 213 countries, every state in the U.S., and all of our employees are also work remotely. So we serve our students via the internet. We never see our students, they never see us, and we actually use technology. That's one of the reasons we are able to be so inexpensive, because we lean heavily on technology, and obviously planning on introducing AI to be even more efficient and have even better results for our students.
So what's your goal? What is your goal? You've been here since 2009. Where are you going to be 10 years from now?
Well, the next goal is 1 million students. But, you know, the real goal is to make other universities do the same. Because we want to wake up one morning and see that all the people in the world who deserve higher education and qualified for higher education has the opportunity there. And that's the real goal, to make higher education accessible and affordable to all.
So do you think that the traditional universities, like I was talking about Penn State here, getting rid of 7 campuses and 49 undergraduate degrees that probably were underperformers, right? Are those traditional universities and colleges, is that model going away?
Part of it is going away. In order for universities to exist, first of all, they need to change their structure and to become much more affordable. Second, much more relevant for their students. So, for example, if you want to be the best university in any field, okay, so be the best university, but the price should reflect that you are the best in this field, but not in other fields. So price should vary between universities. The offering should vary, and more universities should go online. And think about just another idea of universities cut their campus life by 1 year and ask students, go 3 years, come to my campus, and 1 year study tuition free online. Well, you will cut the cost of this for the students by 1/4 of their tuition. And universities that are selective can take more students to compensate themselves for losing the students for 1 year. But you know, you need to be different in order to succeed. And universities must find a way, otherwise they will not be there for long.
That's my belief. I believe that a lot of colleges and universities are going to close their doors forever because the model is changing. Shai, good conversation. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. It was interesting.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, sir. The model is changing, and no bigger red flag than the one coming from State College, Pennsylvania, and Penn State University. Closing 7 campuses, getting rid of 49 undergraduate degree programs. The world is changing. Will the system change? It has to. I think it has to. Interesting conversation. Straight ahead, Ivy will be here. Always an interesting conversation. You don't want to miss her. Up next. They did make some of them meh. All right, welcome back to a beautiful Tuesday. How beautiful? This is how beautiful it is. There's Ivy. That's how beautiful it is. Hi, Ivy.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I slept great. Feel good. Dug ramps yesterday, as you know. I love the smell of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Smells like garlic or onions or some cross between them.
It's good.
Magical. I now know why the natives that lived in this part of the world had little wars over those things. They would fight over them.
Absolutely,
I know
would.
why. Yeah, good stuff.
Well, I want to have your take on a couple things that I pulled up.
All right.
And a disturbing story that I think needs some attention. So, Anthony, if you could play that bite one for me.
Only one for Medicare for all. I'm the only one to abolish ICE.
All right, so you can come back. So that's Democrat
Abdul El Sayed.
yes.
Yeah, I know who that is.
And then I want you to hear one more clip
All right.
from him.
We need Democrats who have the courage to stand up to the power brokers in our own party, let alone Trump and his goons. We don't back down. We don't back down. We don't back down. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out.
We take them to the mud.
And choke them out.
And choke them out.
Nice guy. He's, by the way, I find this shocking, but the polling tells it that he is the current front runner to be the Democrat nominee to be the next senator from the state of Michigan. Who does he?
On the Democratic Party side.
Who does he represent? Doesn't represent me. Not with comments like that.
The Socialist Party, and he's out there campaigning with Bernie Sanders, destroy the oligarchy.
Worse than that, he's been out there with Hassan Piker. Yeah.
I mean, what this guy is saying that America deserved 9/11. He doesn't support the USA at all. He thinks the Hezbollah flag is dope. Hamas is 1,000% better than Israel. He would support them and vote for them anytime over Israel.
Yeah.
And this is also something that Piker said. Landlords are MFers who should be killed and let the street soak in their red capitalist blood.
So if you buy a house,
my goodness,
improve a neighborhood, set it up for a family to rent so they have a place to stay, you should be killed and your blood should run in the streets. Nice guy.
Well, he was talking to someone on, during one of his live streams, and they were saying, well, they're not. This particular guest was saying, well, they're not the homeowners rent. They weren't allowing people to come into their apartments and be rented at all, and so that's what prompted that statement. Now, that statement is horrific.
By the way, that's not legal. You have to rent equally in Michigan and the rest of the country. It's the law.
But this is what's disturbing to me. There have been how many? 14 pastors in the state of Michigan that have come out, and
I think it might be 17.
17 that have come out in support of
him,
of Abdul El Sayed. And I'm just like, what shared values do you, as a Christian
pastor,
have with a man who's out, being promoted by this guy and things that he said, choking out the president of the United States, abolishing ICE. F ICE. He put this chant. He started this chant, F ICE. So what are your thoughts on that? It just seems unbelievable to me.
I think the Republicans are licking their chops, is what I think. Mike Rogers currently in the lead for the U.S. Senate nomination in Michigan.
But isn't this
it's
a
reprehensible.
deep-rooted problem in the United States that there's a group of people that absolutely hate America, and that they think that you and I or anyone that are,
like us
should be killed or should, shut out or silenced or et
killed.
cetera, et cetera.
I think you're right the first time. Killed.
So what's your take on that?
I think it's reprehensible. I can't believe, and he's not the only one. It'd be one thing if he was an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's not.
Mm-hmm.
Graham Plattner is now he's the only Democrat in the race to be the senator from Maine. He's the guy that had a A literal Nazi tattoo on his chest for 20 years.
Are you just saying on the
He's
Democrats?
he's only Democrat
Okay,
left.
gotcha.
Yeah, no, Susan Collins still the senator from Maine, and she's going to win by 10 points. That's my prediction. But here's Graham. Yeah, here are the people that called Donald Trump a Nazi.
Yeah.
Now they're supporting a literal Nazi, a guy that had a Nazi tattoo, sporting it on his chest for 20 years. Oh, I didn't know what it was. He said.
He didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said things more hateful than what you just played. He has said things more hateful than what you just played, and he's the Democratic nominee to be a senator from the state of Maine.
Yeah.
So this is not an outlier, and you can go around the country and find these folks. They're all over the place, running as Democrats. So what's happened here is the Democrat fringe. Because look, we've got Democrat friends, right? Esquire Bob. He's a Democrat, but
I
he's
would
not
say that
that.
they're old school Democrats, though.
Right.
The party of JFK.
They are not that.
Not-
Can you imagine JFK seeing these people and going, who are you and who do you belong to? I'm a Democrat. He'd go, what?
Yeah, these are communists.
These are anarchists, communists, anti-Americans. Look, Democrats like John Kennedy, like Harry Truman, like FDR, they fought against communism. They fought Mao in Korea. They fought the communists in Vietnam, whether you like what happened there or not. The fight was against communism.
Sure.
These people are nothing.
Well,
like those.
I look at these people and I just think that they're wandering around in the wilderness looking for something to be part of, and they grasp onto this thinking that, government is the answer to all of their problems.
It's not.
When it's the exact opposite. I
Yeah.
mean, you just can look at some European countries or look at China or look at Russia or
It's a disaster.
exactly.
They're wandering around in the wilderness looking to set something on fire. Is I think the way I see that, because these people, that's dangerous. And you wonder why President Trump has had 3 assassination attempts. There's why. These people empower them. Oh, he's a Nazi. He's this. He's that. Oh, Gruber. He's this. He's that. They put a target on our backs every day, and they do it knowingly and gleefully. Anyhow, Ivy, good stuff. Got to leave it there. Love you.
I love you, Steve. And I love this country too, by the way.
Oh, so do I. Thank you for that. I love this country too. Thanks. Quick break. I'll be back. All right, so we'll have an update on the Pentagon update that just happened this morning with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and General Raisin Kane. We'll have that coming up, complete review. I don't know how long this ceasefire holds. Iran lobbing missiles. We just apparently stopped 6 ships trying to run the blockade. That just coming in. I'm just seeing that news pass the wire here, that we stopped 6 ships on their way in, right? So that's really important. Big news. U.S. intercepts 6 ships trying to run American blockade during Operation to open Strait of Hormuz. They tried to run the blockade, part of Project Freedom. They were all turned around, said Hegseth during that briefing this morning. So that's an important bit of news, new news. Iran, whether they're run by the IRGC or some more moderate factions, it's not clear. It's chaos. And maybe that's part of the reason that the president has not ended the ceasefire, because you've got factions in different parts of Iran running the country. And if the IRGC is becoming fragmented, well, that would be good news. And if more moderate voices can come to the table, maybe that's what they're waiting for, right? More moderate voices to come to the table. We'll see how that plays out. The president has been very calm about this, says if they attack us, well, it'll be a different story. But so far, that has not happened. So we'll see how it plays out, and we'll keep you up to date right here every day. Fight the good fight and keep the faith. This is the relentless pursuit of truth. That's what we do here. Wherever the truth leads, that's where we're going. Like I said, fight the good fight, keep the faith. God bless America. And remember, my friends, only you can save America.
There's this place